Where are we going?
I don't remember.
We're going to the temple of Seti the First.
Inside the temple.
Let's do it. Today we're going to show you around one of Luxor's best kept secrets, the memorial temple of Seti the First. If you daydream about exploring a beautifully preserved Egyptian temple without a tour group in sight, this is the video for you.
Allow us to reintroduce ourselves.
Our name is GoingGoing.BackBack.
In 2019, we had 3 kids under 5, a new minivan, and a house full of things.
With our eldest due to start school in a few months, we decided it was now or never to take an extended vacation. And so we set off to explore the world and be back in time for his first day.
We were several months into our trip and pretty charmed by the slow travel lifestyle when the pandemic hit and schools around the globe shut down.
It confirmed the idea that was already brewing in our minds, that there was no better classroom than the one our kids were already in, the world.
We sold our minivan, gave away everything that couldn't fit into a suitcase, and became full-time travelers.
We are up and out the door with a quick good morning to the Nile River. Good morning. We are Sabah Nur. We are with our dear friend and neighbor, Captain Jabber. He's going to take us to the temple of Seti the First this morning. Lived in Luxor your whole life, right?
Yes.
Do you ever visit any of the sites?
Other side?
Like, have you been to the Seti the First temple, been inside?
I've been many things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you and your family ever visit for fun to go to the temples?
No.
No. When you see the ancient Egyptian monuments, do you feel pride that is your ancestors? Huh? Not related to them at all. Not even, you don't know those people. Thank you. Our early morning drive from the riverside neighborhood of Ramla to the temple takes us past hot air balloons, just making the descent after an early morning flight, and past the massive 60-foot tall colossi of Memnon. Tickets for the Memorial Temple of Seti the First and more than a dozen of Luxor's less visited sites are sold from the Antiquities ticket office on the West Bank. An adult ticket is 60 Egyptian pounds, kids 5 and under are free, and children 6 and older are £30. Where are we going?
I don't remember.
We're going to the temple of Seti the First.
Look right behind you and you'll see where they used to live.
Yeah, that's Old Gorna. The ticket office offers a view of Old Gorna, a once thriving modern community that was relocated to protect the ancient sites that lay beneath it. Seti I was a New Kingdom pharaoh, the second of the 19th dynasty, after his father Ramses I. Seti I ruled Egypt for 10 to 15 years, and his well-preserved memorial temple, once connected to the Nile by canal, now lies right up against modern homes and buildings.
I know where to go.
The temple's first pylon once stood 78 feet high. What remains now is less impressive.
Good. What's this?
This used to be the main gate to the temple. So this says the remains of the gate of the first pylon, built of limestone with sandstone frame. And then these are the 4 stelae commemorating the visits of Seti I and his son Ramses II. Hello!
We're here. It is cool.
Hello, welcome.
Cool. In Egypt.
What do you see?
In Egypt rock.
Are they carvings?
You can see the leftovers of it. Look at Arnhem. Oh, I see a carving, Mommy. Come.
What do you think, Chi-Chi?
Good. Come on, Mommy.
Okay. Tell me what you know. Whose temple is this?
That's the first.
Nice. And what area of the temple are we in?
His palace.
Yeah, looks very palatial, right? Watch out for those spikes. There is rubble around and some sharp thorns in some areas of the complex, so it's a good idea to wear closed shoes when visiting.
Look what I just.
Wow. Up those stairs was the Pharaoh's window of appearance, used by the king to watch over processions. One thing we love about Luxor's sites is how our kids can combine imagination and history, playing at being kings where ancient kings once stood. I'm at the temple of Seti I in Luxor, Egypt. You can see it back there, there's a great temple back there. I'm standing in the remains of what was the palace. Apparently this was actually the first temple to have a royal palace residence. It is hot, it's mid-September and Egypt stays hot for a long time. Fortunately there's a cool breeze, but it is a little hot if you get in the sun, so you can see I'm already sweating. It's about 7:30 in the morning. The birds are singing. Behind me in the distance you can see the hills where all the tombs are. And this is a mortuary or a memorial temple where the king was worshipped and hopefully worshipped after their life. So here people would come and worship the memory of their king, so that they had even more riches and glory in the afterlife. So this was the royal palace at the mortuary temple of Seti I. And you can see, obviously you have to use your imagination a little bit because there's only low walls remaining. And most of those have been shored up by archaeological teams trying to, not lose the site. But you can see actually it was a fairly substantial size. We were visiting the palaces and a couple of the other temples, and this looks bigger than those. But the rooms themselves are quite small. The rooms do feature some great columns though, or once great columns, the bases of once great columns. You can see the kids are making themselves at home. Maybe they were royalty in the past life, or entertainers at the royal palace.
I won't know you. You can't know me. Everywhere I see you, you can't touch me. I won't touch you. I can't know you. Why? You're the noise. Make it suck you. I can't suck you. I won't let you. I won't touch it. I won't know you. I can't see you. I can't know you. Everything I know is all the wind inside. I won't stop you running my house.
So down here was the first pylon and the entrance to the temple complex. This was the palace. And then you see there was a causeway. Running up here and up along here, leading straight to the temple. And they say in ancient times all of these would have been lined with trees and flowers, so it would have been really beautiful. I mean, it's pretty beautiful right now. What you're witnessing here is the most critical part of any outing with kids: snack time. So I use this guide a lot. It's the Illustrated Guide to Luxor, Tombs, Temples and Museums by Ken Weeks, who's a noted archaeologist who runs the Theban Mapping Project. So from this book I've learned so much. It's an older book, it's about 17 years old, but as most of these temples have been standing for more than 3,000 years, I think 17 years doesn't make too much difference. So the temple here is called the Domain of Amun in the west of Thebes. So this temple was commissioned by Seti I to be his mortuary or memorial temple, but it was actually finished by his son Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great. Ramses the Great is renowned for building just an absolute glut of sites, including Abu Simbel,
and big extensions of a lot of other sites that he didn't start, but he added more to. Interestingly, whenever you read about the work done during the reign of Ramses II by archaeologists, they tend to be a little bit disparaging. They say the work that Ramses II commissioned under his reign was really heavy-handed, was not very detailed, that the artistry of even his father's generation and reign was not there in the reign of Ramses the Great, Ramses II. So it's interesting, you know, it's one of those situations where obviously he let quantity be more important than quality in his work. But that said, I don't think anybody's going to tell you that Abu Simbel is inferior in any way. In the 19th century, this was where a lot of tourists started, on the West Bank. So this was a really visited site for a long time, and I guess it's fallen a little out of fashion because now we're just about the only people here. But it's beautiful. There's some date palms with birds singing in them. It is really beautiful, and it's definitely worth a visit. So comparatively to some of the other sites around Luxor, the temple complex here does seem a little small, but originally it was actually 160 meters or 520 feet long from the first pylon to the back of the temple. It included a palace structure, temple, the pylons, the walls around. Unfortunately, there was flash flooding, but it still is quite a remarkable place. And we're going to go inside and explore more of the temple now.
Inside the temple.
Let's do it. Which way shall we go? You pick. Okay, let's go. I'm coming.
After entering the temple through the main doors to the Hypostyle Hall, we follow our guide into the Ramses I suite, built by Seti I to honour his father, who died without building a memorial temple of his own.
Look inside here. Daddy, look inside here. I'm supposed to be able to eat toys up here, but they're not toys. It's not really a toy.
Alright, where to next? Let's go, we're following you, you're our guide.
Let's go here.
Yeah, let's see what's there. Oh. Beautiful. Tell me again?
Doesn't that one look like the picture when he was a kid?
Yeah, you think he looks really young?
Yeah, he looked like a kid, but he's really old. And he's dancing, and he's giving water his back.
The brown you see on the walls is bat guano. We don't see much of it at other Luxor temples, so either this one is a particular favourite with the bats, or the larger crowds at other places mean a larger cleaning budget. We regularly spend a few hours at each place, which gives us time to sit and read more about where we are, or to play a game of hide and seek.
Okay, I'm ready.
A minute, Daddy. Behind me.
I've read that in the 19th century, watercolourists would regularly visit the memorial temple of Seti I to paint, and it's not hard to see why it was a favoured subject. In some places, traces of the original colours remain, and the temple as a whole is well preserved, within a beautiful setting with great natural lighting.
This was the temple complex as well, and you can see 3,000 years later, it still has water. We are at the memorial temple of Seti I.
Is this Seti the First?
Nope, that one's a different one.
What is his name?
That looks like it's one of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings.
No, this guy's name.
Oh, I don't know. I have to have a look at the book.
I'll show you him. Look. Mom. Follow me.
I'm coming.
Most of the inner areas of the temple were once roofed, with small shafts letting in beams of light. Some of the roofs of this temple remain intact, and seeing the ancient carvings in the light of a solitary beam of sun makes you feel like you've entered into another time. We cross back through the Apostol Hall, seeing a huge image of the king drinking the milk of a goddess, and taking a minute to look up at the ceiling and to sit and feel small under the towering pillars.
But this was a temple. This is where they worshipped their gods.
So you get it here or not?
The 3 rooms at the back of the temple were once the most sacred and would have been off limits to all but the most powerful in the land, and that seat once held the god's ceremonial boat.
So this is the mummy and the mourners weeping. You can see, even though this is one of the smaller temple complexes in Luxor, it's massive.
Like all of the sites around Luxor, there are signs here of the Romans and Christians who took over the temples for their own use after the long reign of the pharaohs finally ended.
This one? Wait, Mommy, look! Look at my rock, Mommy.
Okay, baby.
I have this rock, and this rock, and this rock, and this rock. I'm coming with you, but I just gotta get my rock.
The mud brick enclosure wall of the temple gives a great view of the entire complex. From here you can see the storage rooms, the earliest example of their kind to be found within a temple complex. You also get a great view of the temple itself and can see just how massive the bricks it was built with are. The palm trees and farmland to the south of the temple cut through some of the starkness of the scene, and passing traffic reminds you that Luxor is a place where ancient and modern live side by side. At most sites in Luxor there will be a guardian in attendance, ready to escort you around, point out some of the most famous elements of the site, and take a few pictures for you. Some people find them intrusive and feel frustrated when they ask for bakshish, but we find most of these men to be helpful, especially kind to children, and giving them the equivalent of $1 or $2 for their time and help is no great
Follow the
burden.
guide.
My advice is to carry some small change in Egyptian pounds and incorporate that into your budget, rather than allowing yourself to feel bothered or resentful by something you really can't avoid.
Cool.
Give your energy instead to marveling at the incredible history you're standing within.
Yeah.
Look, it's the satellite.
See it? It says 1879, so it says someone's name. So tourists have been coming here for hundreds of years. And unfortunately, some of them thought it was a good idea to carve their own names in the rock.
Both the north and south sides of the Apostol Hall are dedicated to the Theban triad of Amun, Mut, and Khonsu. If you grab one of the Egyptian gods fold-outs you'll be offered at most souvenir stands, it can be fun to use it to pick out the images of the gods as you sightsee. We also like trying to figure out what is being offered to them. Our favourite is something that looks like a gigantic birthday cake set with candles, but probably is not. If you're wondering why the older kids don't feature in much of this video, it's because they spent a lot of time building this tomb out in the dirt.
The king's burial. There's a hidden treasure. Look, there it is, the wall to the hidden treasure. So much treasure, right? 3. There's like 9 treasures in here. 4 treasures. Now, we're gonna take this all up. All this up. And look inside this tube. Look at this. Mommy. Wasn't this tube amazing? Boom. That was it. It's full of hieroglyphs. Mommy, look.
I will, just a second. That's a wrap. We are leaving the temple of Seti the First in Luxor. I thought it was great. There's a lot of intact carvings. There's a rampart on the walls that you can walk around part of the way. There's trees for shade in some areas. I thought it was really interesting. I definitely would recommend coming here. And I think I might even come back with the kids because it's quite kid friendly. So 10 out of 10, definitely recommend. Shukran. Salam. Alright guys, what do you think? On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving the Temple of Seti the First? You give it 1 cricket? The lowest number?
I give it a 20.
Woo!
I give it 5.
5?
I give it 100.
100.
I give it past its limit. Infinity.
Nice.
Me.
Me too.
Infinity.
10 out of 10.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Your first
Yeah,
tip.
I like Tim's Temple.
I give it.
Tunes and Temples Tuesday.
Actually, I give it Infinity 100.
Love it.